Welcome back to our second set of breakouts this afternoon. We're really excited to have the Phoenix here. They've been doing wellness rooms all weekend long, and so excited to introduce the Phoenix.
Thank you. Thanks. Hi. Thanks so much for coming. Thanks so much for being here. My name is Liz McKean. I am a member of the Phoenix. I also happen to work for the Phoenix. I manage the national virtual program. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. And I am also honored to be joined by Bryce Cobb III, who is our Detroit program coordinator, and Caleb Ferguson, who is our Tampa program coordinator. And you're going to hear more from us as we move along. I wanted to just start by giving you an idea of what we're going to be doing here. We're going to show a really quick video that always gives me goosebumps, so I'm hoping that it gives you a little of those too. And then you're going to hear from me for just a few minutes. We've got a few slides to go through that just have some of the basics of like who we are, what are we doing here. But then I feel like it's just much more impactful for us to show you who we are and what we do through our stories than it is for us to tell you and read off slides for an hour. So the plan is for this really to be a discussion, like a conversation. We're going to share some of our stories and what the Phoenix means to us, what we've seen it do for others. And then we hope that you'll join the conversation as we get going and bring us some questions, talk about maybe what you could see the Phoenix being for you and in your community. So that's the plan. And I think we'll just roll the video here. Am I in charge of that?
Sober is a decision, a choice we make every day. And with those first steps, being vulnerable is our first strength. We discovered something. We found our footing and support. We've always been this strong. We just needed to see it. Now we are here in 48 cities and beyond. In person and online, we number over 40,000 members and are growing every day. Rise with us, because we are stronger together.
Okay. Well, thank you for watching that with us. So again, my name is Liz, and we're here from the Phoenix. And I just have to say it because you can probably hear my heart beating through my mic here. This is something that I haven't really done before. I'm nervous, and I'm actually a yoga teacher. So if we were going to do yoga right now, I'd feel a lot better. So if you could all like do a downward dog, it would really help me out for the nerves, but you don't have to. So anyways, I wanted to tell you just a little bit about how I came across the Phoenix. Back in 2018, when I was on my like 10,000th time trying to get and stay sober, I came across an influencer on social media that I'd followed. I used to follow back then sober accounts, but nothing that actually had the word sober or recover in the name, because I was so afraid that somebody might see that I followed those kinds of accounts and maybe know that I had some kind of a problem and what, you know, the horror. So somebody that didn't have that in their name, but I followed because I knew they were in recovery, posted about a workout that they were doing with a sober organization called the Phoenix. And I didn't know anything about the Phoenix. All I knew is that I'd been kind of looking for a workout, and this looked really fun. People looked happy. People didn't look like they were filled with shame. That was the story of my recovery was just deep, deep shame. And that was the thing that kept it from sticking for me. So decided to go to this workout. It looked like it was going to be okay. And they always say at the Phoenix that the door to the gym when you first go to a Phoenix workout or event is always the heaviest door that you've ever opened, and that's really true. But the cool thing is once you open that door and walk in, everything's easy after that. It was just a bunch of really nice people. We high-fived, we worked out, we talked about recovery, we joked about recovery. I was able to show that part of myself in a way that I never had before. And I couldn't really tell you anything about the workout, but I'll never ever forget those people and that feeling I had. That was this click where I went from getting sober be this place of shame and fear to it being a source of pride and community. Forgot that I have this guy here. So really the muscle that I was strengthening when I was going to those first few classes was really that pride. It wasn't my biceps. It was just finding that strength in community and becoming a whole person, letting that piece of myself be part of my story. So we call ourselves a sober, active community. We're a national nonprofit. We offer free, peer-led activities and events for people impacted by substance use. And I really love that, impacted by substance use, because I feel like that's pretty much everybody. A big part of what we do is break down stigma. And for me, I couldn't even talk about the fact that I was trying to recover because I was so ashamed of it. And with the Phoenix, our goal is to prove to ourselves that we do recover, and also our families and our communities and our friends. And the way we do that is by doing that out loud. Like, I never would have thought I'd be on a stage with a shirt that said sober on it and talking to you about this. And that's what the Phoenix did for me. So hopefully somebody out there is going to be similar and see that, you know, somebody impacted by substance use could be them. They can see their story in that, and it doesn't have to be anything scarier than that. And it could be something that's a source of pride. So we offer events and classes, 250 plus every single week, and that's a variety of things. We started out with fitness being all that we were. We were Phoenix multi-sport, and there's a lot of value there because fitness, there's studies that show how fitness, you know, changes your brain chemistry when it comes to working at getting sober, and fitness is huge in that. But if there's a person who doesn't want anything to do with fitness, then they're not going to ever go to that event, and they're never going to find community. So we realize more and more that as long as an event is meaningful to someone, that's going to be the vehicle to the Phoenix community. It doesn't have to be fitness. So we offer a lot of fitness and yoga and meditation and bowling and chess club and poetry club and anything that is meaningful to the person who's running it. And that's allowed us to grow and touch so many more lives. Our events are free to anyone with 48 hours of continuous sobriety. And again, that doesn't necessarily have to be a person who is in recovery. The Phoenix was huge for my family, for my parents. I remember when I first started to teach for the Phoenix on the virtual platform. So I was in Florida, they're in New York, and they weren't sure if they were allowed to come. They didn't want to take the spot of a person who is in recovery, but it couldn't be farther from the truth. Part of breaking down stigma is allowing them to be in that room and see me thriving and see other people thriving and see, once again, that recovery is possible, and it can also look like joy and not shame. So we have a pretty significant impact. We are in 30 states right now for live programming. We have virtual classes and events happening all day, every day, team members in 73 communities all around the world, and to date we've touched more than 65,000 lives. So that's a lot of very cool numbers, but one of the things that really changed for us in 2020 is that we took this show online. We took this to Zoom. So now, even if you don't necessarily have a Phoenix in your community, if there aren't live events happening at your local park, or if you don't happen to be in one of the honestly few communities that we have a brick and mortar building, you can still tune in and be part of this community from your living room. And that's allowed us to touch so many more lives. We have international people that tune into our events that are online, and we have quite a few people that go to both in-person and online events. And again, that ranges from the gamut of things that are meaningful to folks. Our goal is to find or to impact 1 million people over the next 5 years, and that sounds like a lot from 65,000, but it's so possible. Like we're a movement. We're not just programming, and we're really excited because who we are is all of you. So the Phoenix difference. Phoenix provides connection with peers that is safe and non-judgmental. The difference between a Phoenix workout and any other workout that you might do is really our community. It lies in our community standards. Before every event, whether it's again a workout or something else, we talk about how we're going to keep a space safe. We ask folks to be kind. We ask people to not curse. We are really, really careful with our trauma-informed language. We do a lot of training with anyone who's going to be running a Phoenix event to be sure that everyone that walks in the door, whether that is a physical door or a Zoom room door, feels welcome and safe and is able to, again, bring their whole self. All of our classes and events are led by trained Phoenix members. There's not a hierarchy here. We're peer-to-peer model and peer-based. So the folks that are running events are not trying to tell another person that comes to the event what to do with their recovery or how to walk this path. We're just there to walk this path alongside one another. Peer-to-peer support is so much part of who we are that over 75% of our members are individuals in recovery. And we're growing, and we're also growing in the realm of folks who are supporters of people in recovery or just doing the sober thing because it's awesome. And the thing that really makes Phoenix the safest for me is the fact that we do support all pathways, that we're not going to tell you that the way you're recovering is right or wrong. We're just going to cheer you on and ask you to please keep doing what's working for you, because that's the way it should be. There are many ways to get involved with the Phoenix. The first one is to participate. So just coming to an event, signing up for something. You can do that, again, possibly local in your community if you have a Phoenix that's there. We do have a Phoenix here in Vegas. Or you can tune in online. The barrier is pretty low since everything is free and you can tune in from your living room. But just coming to an event is your invitation to the party. You're part of the Phoenix as soon as you join us for just one thing. You can also volunteer, and I'm not going to speak a lot to volunteering. Caleb is a big part of our volunteer initiative, so he'll be able to speak to that. But we are just building a huge volunteer force all over the country. We're international with our volunteers, and that's how we do find our way into your community. That's how, if you don't have local programming now and you'd like for it to be there, that's how it gets started. And partnering, which can mean a variety of things, but we partner with local gyms and studios to host classes. Most of our local chapters are not in a brick and mortar, and we partner with our local CrossFit or our local yoga studio, or we do events in a park or in an art studio. Wherever we're able to partner within the community, we do, and the way we do that is by connections that we make with our members, our volunteers. So just thinking about who maybe in your life or community might be someone that could be a partner, or maybe it's you, is a great way to be part of what we do. And with that, the slides are over. And we're going to talk a little more naturally, just the three of us. Again, I feel like it's so much more fun to hear stories and hear us speak conversationally. And if you think of something that you want to ask us, please hold on to it, because we are going to have a good portion of time where we'd love to hear from you and hear what your thoughts are and how Phoenix might be part of your world, part of your community. First thing I was going to ask is for both of you, I would just like to hear about your journey. How did you find the Phoenix? What was this like for you? How did you get to the place that you are on this stage today?
So for me, it was actually kind of interesting. It was a roundabout way that I found my way to not only working for the Phoenix, but being a part of the Phoenix in Tampa. My entire working career, I've been involved in the fitness industry, health and wellness, everything from undergraduate to being a personal trainer and a strength and conditioning coach. And I always leaned into the fact that I was helping to make someone's quality of life better. This was before my active addiction and long before my recovery. But something about it, when I got sober, felt like it was missing. Like I knew I was still doing good work, but I didn't feel like I was touching the part of people that I could recognize in myself that needed to be touched. And as I was going through it, I was working as a personal trainer, and I started kind of feeling like I needed to find something different. And then I found a position as a recreational therapist. So I was like, okay, maybe that's doing it for me. I was like, it's still kind of not it. And the opportunity to work for the Phoenix came up. I interviewed, was not able to get that position at the time, but I knew there was something that touched my soul with the movement and how the community was truly peer-to-peer. So when the opportunity came around again, I was able to accept a position with the Phoenix and started teaching CrossFit classes. And I realized very quickly that the part of me that was not being, my soul wasn't being fed by just thinking about the physical, was that I was no longer the person that was in charge of making you healthier. I needed to be a part of that community, because what I was trying to fix that was broken in someone else, I finally saw was actually broken in me as well. And when I became a peer with someone else in that environment and we supported each other, I no longer had to hide my recovery, because fitness and recovery and what the two things I was passionate about, they didn't have to be separate anymore. They came together, and to kind of quote what Liz said, I was able to become my whole self. I was able to truly be transparent and actually say, I know I'm in charge of what you're doing today, and I know that we're going to be doing these classes, but I'm struggling, and I need you here just as much as you need me here. And I always start my classes, and we kind of go through our community standards, and I truly thank the folks that are there, because they're there as part of my personal recovery. And every single time I teach a class, I am so grateful that folks trust me, not only with how they're going to move their bodies, but to be a part of their recovery journey equally to how much they're a part of mine. And I truly have found what I feel like I'm called to do, and that's to be of service to other folks in recovery and actually allow them to pour into my cup while I'm pouring into theirs.
Thanks, Caleb. Yeah, so to piggyback off of what Caleb said when it comes to service, like I wasn't necessarily looking for the Phoenix. Like the Phoenix kind of found me. I identify as a person in recovery from substance abuse and alcoholism. My recovery date is 7/27/2013, and I'm a member of 12-Step. And from the moment I got here, like one of the main things that was told to me to continue to cultivate my recovery is to get outside of myself and to get into service. And so that's what I proceeded to do always. Like if I was ever in a stagnant area of my recovery, like I would look for a way to get outside of myself and kind of get into the community. And so what I learned was when I came home from rehab, when I went to rehab and I came home, and the work that I was doing, it wasn't necessarily like soul sustenance. It wasn't something that I really wanted to do. I'm from Detroit, and I was working at one of the big three automotive factory, and in the environment in the automotive factory isn't the best for recovery. I think it was easy while I was in my active addiction, because I could just go in there and get high and just get through a 10-hour shift. When I came home, it's like, okay, I need to be doing something that kind of aligns with my soul. So, I proceeded to work to find career and work that aligned with who it was that I was becoming. I was looking to create an environment that was more reflective of my future than of my past. And as I continued to work, I continued to be led to here and to here and to this circumstance and in this situation. I started to cultivate a mindfulness practice of my own, because I really needed that. Like I was picking up these tools. If I'm pretty sure you all can relate that recovery is about finding these tools that allow for us to handle and show up for life on life's terms. So I was picking up these tools and really condensing a lot of pain, agony, and really like counter-intuition, and really like stepping into a new life and continuously expanding. I was led to being a certified peer recovery mentor. So I'm working in the community, and I'm getting these resources for these other people in recovery, and I'm trying my best in Detroit to figure out who got what, where can I lead these guys to that are coming out of rehab and they need these things to be able to tap into life and recovery. You know, if you're familiar with that brand new area of like, I just came home and I'm excited and I need something, because the universe abhors a vacuum. Once you take something out, you got to put something back in, or else we don't even know what to do. So I'm looking for these resources to find, and I'm creating some of my own. I was actually on Facebook just doing live meditations for the community on Facebook Live every week. And a couple of members from the Phoenix were attending my live classes and had reached out about my live meditation classes. And then they came to Detroit and did a fitness challenge, a community fitness challenge. And even then, like, I didn't even know what I was doing. I just was like, okay, other people that are sober are doing something, so let me do something with other people that are sober. That's what I do, you know. And so I showed up, did that, and I like kind of getting active, but I'm not a super exercisey guy. So when you say exercise, like, I'm like, all right, that's not the exciting part to me. But you talk about community, it's like, okay, other people who are living a life that I'm living or are seeking an environment like I'm seeking, let me tap in and see what it's talking about. So I showed up, and that was my first moment of awareness with the Phoenix. And I continued to coach for about half a year and always had the Phoenix in the back of my mind as a resource. And I was actually, to be honest with you, very skeptical, because as a coach, I'm working in the community, and I would get these guys coming in, and maybe these guys came from Macomb County, maybe these guys came from Wayne County, and it's like those, where they came from, the insurance that they have, all were things that either allowed me or disallowed me to give certain type of help. Like, people would show up for me as a coach and ask for my help, and I would literally have to turn people away. And I fought my supervisor about it. Like, I'm not turning him away. Like, we got to figure out something, because this guy is like, you got to strike while the iron is hot in recovery, you know. So the thing that struck out to me about the Phoenix is that is free for anybody with 48 hours of sobriety. That's the only price that needs to be paid to be able to show up to any of our programming. And even after I came on board, like after I applied, and they put me through like 12 interviews, and it was very intense. I felt like I was in a Born Identity, but they finally let me through. And when I finally got through, I'm on staff now, and I'm still kind of like looking back, waiting for the catch. Like what's the catch to all this? This is cool. Everybody's happy. It all seems cool and fun, and we're creating programs for people to attend to for free. But what is the catch? Who's weird here? Is there some weirdness going on here, or what? and eventually, like, I just had to kind of come to the conclusion, like, there is no catch. Like, this is community.
There's a little bit of weird, though.
There's a little bit of weirdness. I'll probably contribute to it. But it's community. And, out in that question I seen a TED Talk recently that said the opposite of addiction is not sobriety. The opposite of addiction is human connection and community. And when I saw that, and then I reflected on my experience in my recovery, and it's like, oh yes, every step of the way I was seeking community. Every step of the way I was looking to get outside of myself and get around other people that were doing what it was that I was looking to do. Every step of the way I was getting outside of myself and getting around people who are doing things that maybe I could do, and keeping my mind open to the possibilities and the potentials. So the Phoenix is a hub for that. And I'm excited to be here and be speaking on behalf of the Phoenix.
It's so funny, because I think I was avoiding community which is why it took me a decade of tries and fails, because I was just like, I'm going to do this by myself. Nobody needs to know. You know, I was like, this is just going to be this quiet little thing that happens, which of course it wasn't quiet at all. You know, cars crash and things like that. And when I got to Phoenix, that was what was missing, was that piece, that community, and it just made all the difference. And the other thing you said about being skeptical, I think that is the hardest part about our job, is convincing people, because typically when something sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true, and it's that good and that true that this is free. We work really hard to get funding from really generous donors, and we do peer-to-peer fundraising that's available, but there are people in our organization that go out and get grants and we have generous people that support us, but for folks that are just coming to our programming, that's the currency that we're looking for. Like you showing up to my yoga class, that is like better than anything else that you could do. Like that is what we're looking for, is for you to come participate, like feel the difference, get more involved, take that next step, maybe volunteer. But if all you ever do is show up on Sunday evenings to a restorative yoga class from your living room, like you are driving this movement. It's incredible. Like you really, really are making a difference just by being there, by showing up for you, by showing up for us. All right, back to these very important questions that I have here. So one of the reasons I really avoided that community piece and struggled to find my place and struggled to recover at all was because I wasn't recovering out loud. Shame was such a big part of my story. And that was the transformative power of community, and the Phoenix was to help me to get to a place of feeling proud of who I am entirely, and my past and my present and my future. So Caleb, I would love to hear from you about how the Phoenix may have transformed you. Like, how has it supported your recovery?
Yeah, so, looking back, in the moment, I thought that if I admitted to being alcoholic or that I was in recovery, everyone was going to stigmatize me. And that was such a heavy burden that I experienced on a day-to-day basis. Everything I did, especially in my professional career and my personal life, I thought that because I feel now looking back that personally I was ignorant of my own journey. I didn't understand that being in recovery is something that I can be incredibly proud of. I thought that it meant that you couldn't trust me because I had struggled in the past. And the reason that I felt that way is because I didn't trust myself yet, I think. And so as I went through my journey, I found the Phoenix when I was about 4 years into my sobriety. And I had worked the 12 steps, I had given back, I had done these things, but something about me separated my recovery from the rest of my life. I would go to meetings, and then I would hope that I didn't run into anybody that I saw at a meeting. And then I would have a personal training client come in, and I maybe hadn't met them yet. And I had a fear, kind of deep-rooted, that I would have someone that I was working with that I had seen at a meeting or that knew I was in recovery. And it's like, oh my gosh, what happens when my two worlds meet? I've been fighting so hard to keep them separate, I haven't really been able to thrive in either of them. And when I found the Phoenix, all of that, just like Bryce, I was skeptical. But I think I was skeptical of different things, because I didn't think there was any way someone could be like, I'm sober, I'm in recovery, and I'm proud of it. I even had several weeks into working for the Phoenix, the first time I put on a sober shirt like Liz is wearing, I hesitated to go to the gas station. And I was like, it's still there. And thankfully at that point in my recovery, I was comfortable admitting it to myself, like, it's okay that it's still there, we're working on it. And when I really let those walls fall down was when I found joy in my recovery. And a lot of that had to do with, I recognized that the Phoenix was truly safe and supportive, not only for the team members that came, but for the staff that worked there. Because when I was watching these team members have these experiences and I was paying attention to, we had people that were terrified of water, but because they've spent time with our community, they're willing to try kayaking for the first time in their life because they trust the group they're going with. That was when I realized, like, oh, I can trust this group to share my stories and my desires and my fears and this kind of stuff. And as I did that, I started noticing that not only was I leading exercise classes in the community, but I was a part of the community. So when I went through struggles, when things came up that were family issues that I was dealing with or personal things, I never hesitated to share it with my community. And it was then that I realized, like, the two pieces that were separate now came together. And once they really came together, my recovery got so much stronger. And I found that I was excited to experience the joys of recovery as opposed to avoid a relapse or avoid the things that could come up from my past. Now my past is part of my story. It's not my identity. And my identity is someone that's in recovery that has those things as truths that I've experienced, but they're not who I am today. And hopefully I'm able to continue to contribute to that community, because I hope that I can contribute as much to the community of the Phoenix and of folks in recovery as they've already given to me in the short time I've worked there. So it's been truly a blessing and a joy of my life up to this point.
It's amazing. I agree. It's such an honor. Just to be here is such an honor, like to have met you all and the incredible work that you're all doing in your communities, and just to be in a group of people that are all just fighting for us is definitely the honor of my life too. Yeah. Bryce, so I think it's really cool that the three of us are the ones who happen to be here. We have this yearly retreat to Moab that we do as a Phoenix community. Staff, volunteers, members go, and that happens to be happening now. So there may have been more of us if that wasn't the case, but I love that it's the three of us, because we each have such different Phoenix stories, and we came to Phoenix with a different thing. Like I came to Phoenix, barely 5 minutes sober, and Caleb came to Phoenix a little bit further in, looking possibly for a job, and then it became part of his recovery when it didn't happen the way he had necessarily expected. And then Bryce came in even further along, looking at the Phoenix as another resource to share with his community and with people that he was supporting, another tool for his tool belt to provide to others. So Bryce, since you come from that space that's so different than me, I would love to hear what gaps you've seen the Phoenix fill possibly for your recovery, and certainly for folks that you have supported.
I think for me, Phoenix programming as a person in recovery, just attending, has given me something like another addition to my support system, for real. I think I found the Phoenix in such a pivotal time in my own recovery. So, and I think I mentioned earlier, I'm 12-step, Alcoholics Anonymous. And when I became a peer mentor, I was introduced to something that kind of broadened my understanding of what recovery is. And 12-step, I came in, and the people there told me to do what it was that they did, and really and truly at that point in my life, like I was so desperate. I often say, like, I could have came into the meeting and they could have had a bowl of moldy cookies in the middle of the table and told me to eat one and you'll stay sober, and I would have did it. I was that desperate. I was that willing for whatever. I was ready. I was ready for whatever they had for me. And just so happened I got there and it was 12-step, and that's what was given to me. And in sponsoring people in 12-step, I was shown, I can't give to you what wasn't given to me. Like, I can't give it to you like it wasn't given to me, right? So I can't give you like a 13th step or a 0.5 step. Like, I got to give it to you how it was given to me. And there have been times where I turned people down. There was this one guy, and he's still around, but he was trying to sell some weed, and he was, smoking some weed, and he was asking me to work him through the steps, and I turned him away, because it's like, I can't give you, like, I don't know how to give you these 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, because what was told to me is this is, I got to give it to you how it was given to me. So when I came into coaching, I was introduced to multiple pathways of recovery. I was introduced to harm reduction. I was introduced to what I've come to define recovery for myself to be right now, which is an increased quality of life. I've seen people, I got a homegirl right now, she smokes weed, and she used to smoke crack cocaine for 30 years. Now she doesn't smoke crack cocaine and she smokes weed. Has her quality of life improved? Yes, it has. Is she in recovery? Who am I to say? She's to say. And she says she is. So yes, she is. Is she welcome at a Phoenix programming? Yes, she is. So I found about the Phoenix around that time where my understanding was broadening. My understanding was growing. And it's another tool I feel that will be more of a welcoming tool maybe than something that is a little bit more restrictive when first coming in. Something that's a little bit easier to access, something with no barriers to entry, and definitely a resource that, especially now I'm on a team, but if I wasn't on a team, like, this would be one of the first things that I would mention to somebody who's new in recovery, like somebody coming home from rehab. Like, so quick story. One of our main gyms is in Denver, Colorado. And so I went out there to go check out what's going on in Denver, Colorado, right? And so I get there and I call Rick. He's the guy who does the biking program, and I like to bike. So, you know, first of all, there was something that aligned with what it was that I was interested in, because if all of it was CrossFit, or all of it was one type of thing, like I would have been like, well, like, I ain't got nothing to do. But it was a biking program there, so I called Rick. I said, Rick, I'm in town, man. I'm trying to do something. I'm trying to get on that bike program. What's up? He's like, yeah, you got a bike? I'm like, nah. He's like, okay, cool, we got you a bike. I'm like, all right, cool. He's like, yeah, you got a helmet? I'm like, nah. I'm like, okay, cool, we got you a helmet. I'm like, all right, cool. And within like an hour, I'm riding on like not a shabby bike with 7, 8, 9 other people in recovery around Denver, Colorado, and building community. And like how I look at it is, and how it really affects me, and why I find this very important is because I could have been fresh out of rehab that day. I could have came home from rehab, and they could have gave me something on the way out of rehab, and they do the thing where they talk about the statistics and the percentages. And, you know, well, you know, they say that, you know, only 2 of you will stay sober in here. So, you know, make sure you take advantage of these resources. And I'm taking advantage of every resource I got. So, Phoenix, what's up? You know, and when you call the Phoenix, it's like, you got a bike? Nah, cool, we got you one. And it's like, okay, yeah, this is important. This is important. Like, no barriers to entry, anybody is welcome. So that's kind of how, so for me personally, it's added to like on my weekly, in my weekly regimen, I have a community fitness class I can go to. And you know, I don't want to take up too much time, but like one thing that is aided me in is like in recovery, I've learned that this is a continuous process. Like the more I learn, the more I find out I don't know, right? And so when I first went to a community fitness class, I discovered like, oh, maybe there's variables to contributing to community that I don't necessarily like possess, or and maybe even weekend, or I don't understand about myself. And one of those things was when I'm working out, like you got the people, yeah, come on, Bryce, come on, bro, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And a week into it, it's like, yeah, Bryce, come on, you can do it, you can do it. I'm like, yeah, I know I can. And then 3 weeks into it, it's like, yeah, Bryce, come on, you can do it, you can do it. And I'm like, yeah, go ahead, James, you can do it too, let's go. And it's like that developing understanding of how to contribute to community, like had expanded and continues to expand. Like learning how to be there for another person, you know, in another capacity and growing capacities, you know. So it has definitely added to my recovery, like being a part of the Phoenix. And it's definitely has been a catalyst for growth in my own personal life.
That's awesome. I love that. I feel like it's a gentle landing, whether it's somebody that's coming right out of treatment, or somebody that is a little ways in, when you're just kind of looking to try something new, whether it's the workout that you're trying something new, or whether it's this brand new community. And I think one of the reasons it felt safe, it felt like a gentle landing for me, was so much of getting sober felt like a punishment to me. So much of it felt like I was in trouble, and now I had to miss out on something, or I had to be punished, you know, for the rest of my life, or I was going to just punish myself for the rest of my life. And at the Phoenix, it was a reward. It was like if I make these, take this next step forward, you know, make these choices, then I get this thing, I get this beautiful group of people. I get to go to that next class where somebody's cheering for me. I get to realize that I'm getting stronger, you know, physically, emotionally, spiritually, all those things. And that was what I needed. Like I needed that. I respond so much better to that positive, you're doing a great job, than you did a bad thing and you're in trouble. And I was not a 12-step person. That was something that it didn't feel right for me. There's certainly times that it was incredibly, I was so grateful that there was a room that I could go to, but it just wasn't a piece for me that stuck. And without the Phoenix, I don't think I would have ever found that community. And because it was so easy, because those barriers weren't there, because I didn't have to bring anything, because I didn't have to pay anything, it was able to change everything. That community really is the transformation. Like the activity is the vehicle. the activity is incredibly important, because if the activity is not meaningful to you, you're never going to go. You're never going to walk through that door. You're never going to register for the class. But that is the vehicle that brings you to the community, that changes everything. And I know both of you have experienced that, and I know you've seen it impact other people. I feel like, Caleb, you've seen it on a whole different scale just in the past year, since our volunteer program has just completely changed and grown. It's been incredible, and I would love for you to talk about that.
Yeah, so when I started with the Phoenix, I thought I was passionate about fitness and exercise. I've realized that pales in comparison to how passionate I am about our volunteer movement. For us, I think a lot of folks look at volunteering as, I can lead a class, right? So I can teach yoga, I can teach rock climbing, I can be Rick and provide a bike. But what really volunteering looks like for the Phoenix is being in the community, right? So let's say we're at a workout, we're at a yoga event, and I show up and Liz is there with me. The reason I may come back is because of that interaction that we've had at the class, right? She said something kind to me, she supported me. Could be as simple as, I need a mat, and instead of me having to search for a mat, she brought one over and said, we're glad you're here. That, to me, is just as impactful as someone leading that class, because Liz may be the only reason that I come back. She may be the one face that I recognize and I go, I feel safe here. And that gives us the opportunities to deepen that. As we started things out, things looked different initially with the Phoenix. Staff was leading a lot of events. We had a good turnout. But what we found was that when we started applying these volunteer principles to our classes, where the whole idea is that when you show up, the things you value and have passion about are valuable to our community. And because you bring them, not only do you get to impact the existing community, but you may reach someone who would have never come to my fitness class. Folks will come to Liz's yoga class that would never come do CrossFit with me, and vice versa. And someone may come to meditation that never comes to CrossFit. But because they've come to those different events, maybe they cross that bridge and try something new and get to have a new experience in recovery. So every volunteer that shows up has something to offer. And they get the joy of experiencing that, and then they also get to feel like their presence at an event is enough. And what's great is that we offer the opportunity for volunteers to come in. You know, we have some training videos you go through. You get to understand who we are and how we approach classes. My job as a volunteer support manager is that I will support you step by step all the way through, up to and including helping you find a location that you can have an event, help you get those things out on social media, bring people in. But then once you do that, like, that is your class. And now you've gone from someone, if you're like me, I didn't know that I had a lot of value in my recovery. Like, I had this stigma hanging over me, but now people are showing up at my event and I'm able to contribute to their recovery. And to watch that grow, it's just fueled a passion in me that, you know, like I said, I thought I was passionate about fitness. And if you were at any of the classes this weekend, you've seen how excited I get to coach those. I'm even more excited about volunteers and the fact that there's not just one way to contribute and be of value to the community. You are enough, and the fact that you come to an event is volunteering already, and it's a beautiful thing, and it's really amazing to get to be a part of.
Yes. Yeah, I know that you have been really building community in Detroit. Actually, you're building community all over the place. I feel like you've been our traveling Phoenix person, just because you have so much to offer when it comes to all the different parts of you. Bryce, like, I know you've been part of our music program. You are part of our mindful meditation program. You do things on virtual. You also do things in person. But I know you've also been really innovative with events locally. And that, I feel like, builds a whole, we can reach community that we wouldn't be able to reach otherwise when we have someone that comes in that is like, this is a part of me that I don't see in the Phoenix, and I'm gonna fill that gap. I'm gonna create that event. And I see that happening with our volunteers. I've seen that with you, Bryce, and if you would like to talk about that, that'd be swell.
Yeah, I could touch on that a bit. Recovery is a holistic process. And when I first got here, like, I thought I was just to stay sober and that would be it. And what I've discovered is it is so much more expansive than that. And every day I learn a little bit more about myself. Every day I come in contact a little bit more with what it is that I have to contribute. every day I'm shown through the wisdom that is cultivated from the experience that I've had, like more and more what I'm here for. And the Phoenix has just been an opportunity to just be like an outlet for that, for real. You know, like Caleb and Liz talked about, like we got so many things going on. And what's crazy is like there's so many, so indoor rock climbing and CrossFit, like alone without even the sobriety aspect to it, like already have their own communities. Like when you go to an indoor rock climbing event, like they talking about belays and how you do this and how you, you know, they got their own language. You go to CrossFit, they talking about AMRAPs and all, like these are communities with their own language. And it's so many opportunities to expand our understanding of life. Cause like, I don't know about you all, but when I delve into a community, it's like some homework I got to do because I don't like to be the only one not knowing what an AMRAP is, you know? And that allows for me to show up and then build community and asking, what is an AMRAP? And then Caleb pulls me to the side and then breaks it down. And then maybe in that conversation with the added element of the sobriety and the Phoenix programming, we talk a little bit about our stories and disclose a little bit about where he came from and where I came from. Maybe I'm interested in CrossFit so much so, like, how do you get certified? Well, let me tell you, because I'm passionate about that. You know, and maybe that begins my pathway to a career that ends up being something that sustains the way that I view myself. Like recovery is what we see when we look back, like when we look in the mirror, what looks back, right? And what tools do we use to come more in contact with what it is that we want to see looking back at us in the mirror? And I think the Phoenix has just been very cool for me and for people that I've seen be able to participate in the Phoenix programming to kind of like get a clear vision on that person that's looking back in the mirror and, you know, working on it and tinkering on it. You know, like Liz said, like I'm involved with the music program. I'm an artist, I rap. I've been doing that, and I was able to bring some of my knowledge of the music community in Detroit to the Phoenix and put together Phoenix programming, maybe do some sober open mics, do virtual music programming. We're starting up a sober dads club. I'm a teen parent. I've been a dad since I was 15. A big chunk of that time was just I got this little guy, and he's just with me all the time because I'm 15. You know, once I came into sobriety, once I came into recovery, I started doing intentional parenting. So now that's an area I feel I can be a contribution to, or at least to hold space, compassionate and understanding space for people who are going through some of these similar things. Meditation and mindfulness. Really, if anybody showed up to my meditation class last night, and hopefully you'll show up tonight at 5:30 in the pavilion over there. But it's just me sharing my personal practice, the things that have helped me in my life. And when I facilitate meditation, like I just see a whole bunch of my faces in the room because I'm trying to talk to you like I needed to be talked to when I first came into like trying to understand like how meditation works for me. Somebody from the hood, somebody who's a teen parent, somebody who, you know, struggled with drug addiction and alcoholism. Like mindfulness doesn't necessarily have a seat at the table where I come from, you know? So it's like, how can I give that to somebody who's never practiced these things? So I think it's just real cool in one, allowing me, like it's a privilege, it's an honor to be able to show up to these spaces and help create these spaces that become self-sustaining for people to feel expressed and a part of something. And for me, like this is one thing my sponsor in Alcoholics Anonymous would always say to me, and at first I'd be like, what do you mean by that? But every time we'd get off the phone, like before we got off the phone, he would say, you know, you've done more for me than I've done for you today. I'd be like, how? Like, I'm just like, I'm nobody, I'm nothing. Like, I don't have nothing to contribute. But now I understand every time that I'm able to be in these spaces, every time that I talk to somebody or somebody gives me a call that needs help, and I've connected with people in the Phoenix that, you know, we just kick it. Like, and I met them through the Phoenix. Like, you know, they was trying to inquire, what's this program about? And that's usually where, like, somebody who's a program coordinator will be like, oh, well, let me tell you. Let's get you involved and let's get you to volunteer. You know, but it's like, like, the conversation, the first 3 conversations was just, how you doing? How you feeling? Like, you good? Like, I didn't see you at the last meeting. How you feeling? Where are you? I haven't talked to you. You know, just to let somebody know that I'm here and that there's community to be able to take part in. So I hope that answers your question. I could tend to go on tangents.
That was perfect. I loved it. I think it absolutely did. As many reps as possible is what AMRAP means. Yeah.
Got it.
I just learned that the other day.
I do yoga. Cool. Well, we've got about 15 minutes left, and we would love to hear any questions that you might have. Our real hope here is that as we talked about our own stories, you might have some wheels turning about what Phoenix might look like within your community, whether that means, oh, I could introduce the Phoenix to this gym that I go to, or hey, I really want to start a poetry club and I would love to volunteer, or I really want to just start coming to events. We have in-person things, we have online. Bryce came to the virtual program and he was leading meditations, but nothing like any meditation we currently had on the platform. We don't even call it meditation, I don't think. We call it a conversation in mindfulness,
Conversation in mindfulness, yeah.
Because Bryce does a meditation and then talks about it and then hears from folks that are there in the class. So this is a really beautiful organization and community to be part of because you're building it. The moment you walked in this door, you became part of it, and you get to help us build it. We call this a movement, but it's not a movement that we're starting and we're leading. It's a movement that we're just hoping you continue to join us in, because that's how we're going to move forward. That's how we're going to grow. That's how we're going to be the thing that when somebody is, Googling online, what the heck do I do? I can't stop drinking. That maybe the Phoenix is something they come across, and maybe it's your class, something in your community that they never would have found if it wasn't for you raising your hand and walking in that door. So with that non-question, if anybody has any comments or questions, I think that's the mic there's mics in both places, so feel free to just hop on up. Yay, you're so brave. It's so bright, I can see like shapes, but you're good.
Hi, I'm Stacy.
Hi, Stacy.
I'm also a peer. I'm a social worker, Bloomington, Indiana. I just want to say thank you so much for being here, for sharing your stories. Your organization and kind of the message and the language that you're using feels like it encompasses like a lot of what we talk about with inclusivity and like the many paths to recovery. And in my community, we do have kind of a very divisive two separate paths almost. This kind of thing would be perfect to like bridge that. So I just wanted to say, I'm sure you get asked about your funding a lot and like, how does all this work? And I know we talked about that earlier when you were out there, but what would you say are the two, when it comes to the funding, what are the major things that you are trying to fund? Is it the activities themselves? Is it investing in the communities you're serving? Is it the rent for the space, payment for staff? That's just kind of what I'm trying to wrap my head around. I don't know if that's an odd question, but thank you.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you so much. And I love what you said about us being kind of a bridge between different really separate pathways, because I feel like that's really common. And the cool thing is we're not trying to replace anything. We're not trying to be like, oh, well, we're better or different or anything. We're just like, we're encompassing. We're like, we want to be another tool. Like for some people, we're their everything when it comes to community. For other people, we are, a tiny little part of their recovery. So that was I'm so glad that spoke to you in that way. And as far as what we're funding, that we yearly have initiatives. We have different goals. And as for a lot of organizations in 2020, a lot of that shifted. I'm the manager for the virtual program, so I can speak for some of the things that are coming there that are definitely being supported, and that is we have a very cool app that's coming out. We're really looking to always make our online processes more simple, because there's nothing more frustrating than trying to get on a website and have it be really wonky and not be able to sign up for a class. So there's a lot that's going into technologies to take down those barriers. And as far as in person, I'd actually, if you don't mind, Caleb, speaking to that, since you do more of the local.
Yeah, so I think, what I find interesting, and I think we had this conversation earlier with someone, was, people ask about funding, and a lot of times folks don't want to answer, right? Like they're like, we don't want to share our funding resources and those kind of things. I think for us, there's multiple different ways that we come across that. We have some very gracious partner donors. We have some really strong community-based initiatives, so we do a lot of peer-to-peer fundraising. I think we're very blessed that a lot of our Phoenix team members, because they believe so strongly, if you're ever on Facebook, you can constantly see folks saying like it's birthday fundraisers. So you have these small pockets of donations, but I think where our impact really has taken off is that as an organization, we do a very good job, and we're getting better every day of following our numbers of our impacts. But the reason that we've been successful in terms of funding is because we don't view those numbers as numbers. We view those as lives impacted and people that we've touched. And when we bring that information to those funding streams and talk to folks that are interested, because that filters through how we talk about those numbers, people are very interested in being a part of that movement, because we truly do believe that if we add 100 new team members, that could be 100 more lives we touched. But not only that, that could potentially be 100 more moms that are able to be home for their kids, and 100 more dads that can be home for their child, or a son like me who didn't die when I should have and can be around for my mom when she needed me when she was sick. And I think when we take that lens and we approach funding with that, I think people can't help but want to be a part of what we're doing, and I think it translates very well. I hope that answers what you're looking for.
Thank you. I appreciate you being here.
Of course.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks for that explanation, Caleb. That sounded just like our talk yesterday about like connecting to what people value. So good way to tie that in. So my name is Terry Morgan Uri. I was in your class this morning, so thanks for that. And I don't have a question. I just wanted to thank you guys for what you're doing, and just share a little bit about like my story and my challenge in connecting with clients. So I'm the program director at a methadone clinic. We have about 250 active clients in various stages of their recovery journey. We believe in whole health and wellness, right? So we do a lot of wraparound medical services and trying to connect people to resources. And then we recently implemented an intensive outpatient evidence-based model in conjunction with our MAT services, because we have a high percentage of people also using methamphetamine, and the medication for opioid use disorder wasn't helping with that. So one of the biggest tenets of that IOP program is adhering to a schedule and building structure and like intentional living right into your life. And when I got clean, I've been clean for a little over 8 years, and I was in treatment, like I didn't know what I was doing, and nobody really like told me what I was going to have to do when I left treatment, right? So every time there was like a group hike, like the people that were doing well in treatment got invited to do these extracurricular activities, and like I'm like, I want to go on every one, right? So I was only a few days clean and knew that like physical activity and connection to things that like stirred my heart and made me feel good about myself was important. But there were no programs or services available, and basically I got out of treatment with pretty much nowhere to go and like really no instruction of what to do with my life. I got dropped off at a recovery house, and I hadn't even seen it. I didn't meet the people there. it was the only place that had a bed for me. I like set my bag down and was like, like I don't know what to do. So I think this is really, really important. I teach my clients, I try to teach them, if they don't feel good about who they are and what they're doing, like you don't sustain recovery if you don't have things to participate in that make you feel good. Like you can be done at the end of the day and be like, oh, that was amazing. So I just wanted to say thank you. That was kind of a long thank you, but I think it's really important work. And I know a guy in my community that would probably love to do your program. So I'm gonna like bring your information to him when I get home.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You are awesome. Yay.
I think she was your friend.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot there was a mic over here. My goodness, I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Kath. Thanks so much for all of your remarks. I really appreciate it. I'm from the Bay Area, long-time recovery, also long-time meditator. I was interested to know if you're doing any nature-based retreats or programs. That's something I'd be very much interested in talking to you about the Bay Area. We had a small program in June, a 3-day silent meditation retreat outdoors at a family ranch, and it was incredibly successful, and it's a model that we want to take farther, especially with young people. So I'd love to just talk to any of you offline or afterwards about any work that you're doing specifically in nature. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for
We were
sharing.
just talking today about how healing nature is. We literally just had that conversation. And I know that we do have programs like that in quite a few of our in-person chapters, and we can put you in touch with the folks that are over there. Absolutely, yeah. Did you have a question?
Hi, I'm Grayson, a person in long-term recovery from northern Michigan.
Hey.
And where I live, we got a real rural community, and we could benefit from like all these classes. So do you have organizations in rural communities? I'm not trained to do anything. I can't teach yoga or CrossFit or anything. So can I just like get a room at the gym for an hour and project things on the wall? Like, how do you do it?
Well, first of all, you don't have to be trained or certified in anything. We have people that lead walks. We have people that lead book clubs, you know, things like that. So you definitely don't have to be certified. And as far as virtual programming, yes, absolutely. We have treatment centers and actually we even have gyms that just didn't have not had coaches or wanted to provide some services for folks that are in recovery that log into our live stream classes. All you need is a Zoom link that you get when you register, and yeah, they project it on a big screen, and there you have not only a class, it's not a YouTube video, we have those too, but it's a human being, it's one of us. Like it could be Caleb if it's Monday at 9 a.m. It's Caleb who is going to talk a little bit about the Phoenix and how we're going to keep this space safe, and then what we're going to do, and he's going to take you through a workout and interact with you the whole time. And that's incredible. So yes, you can build a community without even having to necessarily be leading it yourself. And then, do you want to speak to Michigan?
Not really. I mean, everything that they said was pretty much on point. That would be a good idea. Like if you wanted to put together a space where, like how you said, like projected it on the wall or something like that, like had it to where the people were made aware in your area of the Phoenix, and you were kind of the hub for promoting the Phoenix and the tools that the Phoenix is. And that's what I found has been the most important thing, is the human capital in Detroit. Like just making people aware of it, because at the end of the day, like it's just another tool, it's a resource, and all we can do is put it on the floor, just like all we can do is plant the seeds, and you know, you don't know what seed is going to grow into what. But I've just found it very revealing how the community has kind of latched on, and like where different areas, like there's some passion that's popping up, like, oh, we want to do a meditation class, we want to do yoga, or I just want to do a walk, can I do a walk? Or, and in Madison Heights, we got Lansing, we got somebody in the UP, and they're in a pretty rural area. So the potential is there. We could definitely make it happen.
All right, great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, and connect with us if you haven't already to start to get a little more involved. We'll get you.
Yeah, I think
just started.
Also to kind of piggyback on that a little bit as well, Grayson, what has been really successful in Florida in terms of volunteers is folks just like you who think almost verbatim what you've said of, we need this and I want to help. I don't have a certification, but I can almost guarantee that you know someone that does, that also has that passion that you can connect with. It may not be fitness, it might be yoga, it might be something, but it's amazing how when folks like you connect with those people and say, here's what I want to do, that passion then translates to them, and now we have two people that are passionate about it at the Phoenix. And so that growth and that conduit, that kind of translation to another person brings, and now you have two people in your community that can support each other, and it just can't help but grow after that. And it becomes really awesome to watch, where it's like, now we have Tampa, you've got Detroit, and then all of a sudden we've got 4 people that are coming together and then having ideas, and that's how that organic growth happens. So it's really cool to see, and having people that can plug that in is critical to us reaching new folks, rather than just having someone who can lead one class.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much to Caleb, Bryce, and Liz for joining us this afternoon. We have a short break, and then we're coming back with a really exciting recovery-friendly workplace discussion around how we bring recovery into the private sector, and we've got some incredible speakers lined up. So look forward to seeing you back in just 10 minutes, and then we'll be live in this room. Thank you again to the Phoenix.